Greetings and salutations, race fans, motorsport lovers, and others. You know who you are. And welcome to Wednesday. It is midweek. We love racing so much, we decided to have Midweek Race Day. Thank you very much for joining us. We've got a huge live audience. I nearly said wild audience. They are live. Greetings. Thank you guys for joining us. Let's have that. There you go. They are live. These guys are really special. We come to you tonight from the global headquarters of the Ink Monkey Creative Design Factory. I think I've got it right. And Nell, did I get it right? Sort of right. All I know is that they are absolute magicians with making cars look lacquer. This was a white Suzuki a short while ago. Today, it is a Bumblebee. It is a superstar. This is the wheels of RaceDay.tv. Moi. Thank you very much to the Penta Suzuki guys, to Ink Monkey, to Wat Swaai Jy. Where the Wat Swaai Jy people are here. Check out Wat Swaai Jy. They make some good stuff happen with cars. But enough of that. I'm Colin. Andrew Horn joins me again, your proxy. Andrew, you good?
I'm very good, and you?
Excellent. It's Wednesday. It's wonderful Wednesday.
It's felt like a long week. I'm glad we're here.
We are here. You've got a mic. Can you put it in your hand? Speak in the mic, they said.
Sorry about that. I'm used to it being wide. Yeah, it's been a long week. I'm glad we're back.
Awesome stuff. So Andrew's function in life is to act as your proxy. You ask the questions, you make the comments, he will ask the comments, he will ask them. We will try to answer. We've got Oz, a surprise from Oz, seeing as we'll talk about Oz just now. We've got Terence Marsh on the cross-country side and Dakar. And Chris Kutz is going to talk to us about South African rallying. It is fun, fun, fun. But first, to last weekend. It was a Bathurst 12-hour, which was brilliant, but it sucked because the time difference, 10-hour difference. You've got to stay up on the night. Race starts 8:30 at night. Man, I was tired on Sunday.
It was a long race, but it was exciting. I mean, you only felt it afterwards. There was just so much happening there. And the South Africans took over, which was fantastic.
And we got some wonderful pictures, because in case you were living under a rock or you were transported to somewhere, Bentley brought, they came, they saw, they conquered. They brought their thunder and they won. And their chief driver, we'll call him, their fosterist, besterist, magicest driver, is Jordan Pepper, a good old South African boy. So mom and dad, Ian and his wife were in Australia watching. It was absolutely fantastic to see the joy. South African flag on a podium again. How cool was that, Andrew?
It was so awesome. I think also Bathurst 12-hour has become quite a pinnacle in GT3 racing. And to have a South African on the top step there was mega, absolutely mega.
Before the race, we interviewed him on the Wednesday, so I've got 2 out of 2 at the Kyle Army 9-hour. Interviewed the winning team there, interviewed Jordan again. So for Spa, 100% I'm going to interview Kelvin van der Linde, because he's had a really sucky history with this race. He's fast, so fast there. Set the fastest lap.
Yeah.
And in the B-pillar, the average laps, it just dominated. Absolutely. The guy's a superstar, but he's had cuck luck.
Yeah, plagued with the electrical issues at Bathurst. And when they thought they had the electrical issues solved, he got a puncture. It was just one of those weekends I think he's going to forget.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, that mountain hasn't been good to him, but the mountain was good to the Bentley guys. It was truly proper. So if you've got any questions, queries, comments, remember the rules, just be nice. We are sponsored by the DBAC Society, Global Society. We share their values and their ethos. Write your comments and queries in the thing. And is anybody watching? Oh, first of all, a big shout out to Greg Sharman, who is in hospital. He went in for a skim and a tune-up on the valves and the stuff in his heart to get more revs out of it. He's just had his car chipped by the guys in the UK, as they do.
Was the oil pressure running low that the heart's been involved?
But he's
tuned in. The Wi-Fi's good in the
Greg,
hospital. How's
I'm
it,
glad
Greg?
the Wi-Fi is working in the hospital.
We've got Rui Campos watching us. He won the 45-minute endurance race on Saturday at Swartkorps. How's it, Rui? Thanks for joining us. And Tony Alves, our erstwhile photographer, is online as well.
Well, we've got half of Portugal watching us now.
We do. We do. But there's no GT3 racing in Portugal.
I'll tell you what, some good guys in that Campos family, with the way they just embrace the spirit of race. It is absolutely fantastic. So, the other thing that happened this weekend, are we going to talk anything more about Bathurst, the McLaren? So, super surprised, the McLaren ended up behind the Bentley because the Merc was there, and then the Merc got a puncher. But Pepper was quicker. They came in with, it was like 6 seconds gap, and then he just drilled it, and then the Merc has a pit stop. And the rules in GT3 racing say that your lollipop man, the guy at the front, he's a car controller, and he has to stay in the full view of the driver at all times. So what do the Oaks do? They go and they walk around and they check the car out there. I mean, pow. Anyway, so they got penalties, but it wasn't the only thing that Bentley won.
I was going to say, what else did Bentley win?
So they go from the heat of Australia.
Yeah.
And we've got to rev our, where's our Australian guest? He's lurking in the background there. Dude has come. So an Australian living in Nice. It's a nice place to live, apparently. And just flew in this morning, and we're actually very lucky to have him with us. If you want to have a look, his name is Ian Salvestrin. Did I get it right, Ian? Yeah, got it right. So the guys, they go from the heat of Oz and the fires and all the rest of it, and they win the one race. They brought the Thunder there. Then they took the Thunder to the arse, and they won an arse race in Europe. So
lovely.
I'll tell you what.
And Ian's run away from the ice.
Yeah, he's come from the arse. Did we show a picture of the arse car?
No.
Oh,
there we go.
There we go. I missed it because we've got new technology tonight. I love this
But
stuff.
just talking of the Australian fires, didn't the SRO generate some money to donate towards the Australian
fires?
There's
an issue, and we're going to talk a little bit about that possibly with Ian. There was the SRO pledge cash for laps. So there's 25,200 AUDs. What's an AUD?
A lot more than a rand.
Well, anything's more than a rand.
Well, there you go. I think it's about 10 to 1, isn't it?
Australian dollars, and that went to the Australian Lions Club Foundation, and their fundraising has been so successful that they have a surplus of funds. How cool is that? When then the poo hits the fan, you get things going. So last week we spoke about the manufacturers in GT3 racing, and just a quick cue for Mr. Marsh, if he can get ready to get going, because we've done our stuff. But not yet, Terence, we'll call you. This is do you know how cool this is? Just to make sure that you're ready. We're joined by Terence Marsh. We're going to talk about Dakar. We're going to talk about cross country. He's going to come in just now. So there are 9 manufacturers who've registered for the full time of the Intercontinental GT Championship. And I just want to listen to this, and I have to, production were very kind to give me my notes over here. Audi, Bentley, BMW, Ferrari, Honda, Mercedes, AMG, Lamborghini, Aston Martin, and Porsche. And in addition, you've got McLaren and Nissan that come in. How freaking cool is that?
That is absolutely fantastic. I think last week we had 8, but we were on the fence about Ferrari. I think there was a wild card entry, and we weren't sure if they were there committed for the year, but if they are committed for the year, that's great news.
Yeah, they have committed.
Excellent.
And they only ran, well, they didn't run one car. So we got some points over there. And so the interesting thing on the points, the Mercedes, I'll tell you what, how they do it, I just do not know.
No.
But my money's on the Porkers. I love the Porkers.
They had a difficult weekend. I think after Daytona, we were all sort of thinking, ooh, Ilbamba, Porsche. Oh.
Yeah, but Daytona's LMGTE Pro.
Yeah,
the
GTEs. Rules are different.
Okay, so the GDEs versus GD3s. So GDEs are bit of a modified GT3s. But enough of that. The other just little bit of news that came out of Australia was that KCMG, and we've got Jonas here who just loves GTR. He's got GTR watch. He's got a GT. I mean, everything is Nissan. It's got a GT3 this and a GTR and an R35, and he can tell you all the numbers. R34. It's unbelievable. So KCMG, they ditched Nissan for Porsche. If you want to go GT3 racing, I'm told that there's another brand new 2019 Porsche GT3 coming to South Africa to race in South Africa. So,
fantastic.
Enough of that. Mr. Marsh, please. Terence Marsh, man, a legend of cross-country racing, of motorsport, joins us from red-lined and I always get it wrong. Terence, thank you very much for joining us. You now have the lollipop.
Thank you, guys. How's it?
Lekker in you. It's Red Line Motoring Adventure and Experiences.
That's it. You got it right.
But you had a more of an experience going to Dakar, didn't you?
Yeah, as always, I mean, Dakar is just, it's the mother of all human adventures. There's no other way to put it. And yeah, it was 3 weeks of highs and lows and challenges, and it was Dakar as it can only be.
We spoke earlier. You said, what do you want to talk about? And I said stuff. But Dakar can take, we could sit here for 3 days talking about it because it's such a magnificent race. Let's just have a sort of look at the overall, a wider view. This was Dakar version 3, North Africa version 1, South America version 2. Now we go to Saudi Arabia version 3. Overlying impressions of the race?
From a high-level point of view, absolutely loved it. I was in Saudi Arabia in 2017, so I kind of knew what to kind of expect. But to simplify it, just everything is better. The road networks that you're on are better. 90% of the people speak English. If you think of South America, the simplicity of South America, in particular places like Bolivia and Chile, it's really just one big township. It really is. You cannot get anything poorer. Saudi Arabia is exactly the opposite. You know, we had good road networks. Everything just worked.
Good phone networks.
Yeah, connectivity everywhere. I think 2 stages out of the 12, we might have had 3 hours of in the desert we didn't have connectivity.
And that was one of the days we tried to talk to you there.
That's right. That's right. So everything. There's 2 sides to it. Obviously, I was interested to see what Saudi would do. It's the first time they're hosting the party, so there's no doubt they're going to go out big because, you know, if you think of it from a marketing or business point of view, is they want to go back. They want all the competitors to go back and say, listen, this is a proper party, you need to be there. So we knew that was going to happen, and they did just that.
And they even brought proper porcelain toilets for you.
No, that was a blessing, I promise you. To be able to do your paperwork in the morning and not have to worry about someone pulling a door open and the bikers making a mess, it made a big difference.
What is it about bikers that don't understand that there's an entrance to a gateway to the poo farm, and you just got to aim straight?
No, I think for those that are come, you know, my background is bikes, and you try and do it. You try and align yourself with knee braces and boots on, and it's not that simple.
So basically, it's just general direction.
You just got to get there before them, which is impossible because they start at 4 in the morning. You know, so you're coming post the 200 bikers and their downloads.
That's got to be the worst sound in the morning when you've worked late and to the night, which you guys did one of the nights. And then those frickin' bikes start warming up at 2:30, 3 o'clock in the morning. I mean, do me a favor.
Yeah, to be honest with you, I mean, from a team perspective, between all of us, I think collectively I worked out we had more than 40 Dakars between us as a technical team. So we're kind of used to that. So whether there's, you know, if it's not a generator, it's a bike. If it's not a bike, it's a car. The one thing that probably drove me mad more than anything else was the side-by-sides, because they've got such a whining noise, and they're forever working on them, you know. So in the early hours of the morning, you would have this whining because it's got a CVT gearbox. Yeah. So, you know, there's no change again. It's just a loud whine as they try and test it or whatever they're doing.
Pretty much like...
So if anything got my number, it was probably those.
Andrew, you laugh. I'm very impressed with myself because the filter came down, hey? Did you see that? Okay, so... Good road network, good communication network. Fuel, cheapest chips?
2 rand for diesel, 2 rand a litre for diesel. So, I mean, in our truck, if I look at our budgets, the T5 truck, which is the big truck that moves from bivouac to bivouac, was our cheapest vehicle there. And it's a massive big truck carrying all spares and everything with it.
Massive change from South America, eh?
Yeah, without a doubt. The fuel, I mean, there's fuel everywhere, but it's only 91. I mean, you really struggle to find 95 octane, which is quite interesting. But let's say from a logistical point of view, support, every day that you traveled, you were on good roads, you had good connectivity, you could stop and talk to people, and you could get something to eat, and you didn't have to worry about 3,500 flies over the meal.
No, come on, there was some wonderful street food in South America. The problem was to say, please can I have one of those lovely fresh bread rolls that you've made with some of that ham, I mean, or what's pork biltong that they in Italy, they call it prosciutto or whatever it is. I don't know that stuff. Parma ham, but it's not really Parma ham. And you ask for that, and then you end up with like roast goat because the Spanish is not so good. But I believe Andrew's got a truckload of comments, or have I just got you in the middle of nowhere?
We do have some comments, yep. The guys from Rally Technic, sorry. All the guys from Rally Technic have tuned in and said they're watching. Janus Janssen van Rensburg says, Terence was sleeping in luxury. Is there anything you'd like to add to that?
Tell us about, talk to us about sleeping quarters and sleeping arrangements.
Yeah, I think from management point of view, you do have a few benefits. So one of the things that did catch us out was the weather. Everybody speculated and did all their homework. We do so much research before we go there, and the kind of averages were 24, 25 high and 12 low. And that Saudi Arabian weatherman, he got it horribly wrong, because it was 12 was the highs and zeros was the
Well, there was that one
lows.
stage 2 days after you guys passed through that it snowed.
In
Saudi
Neom,
Arabia snowed.
yeah.
I mean, do me a favor.
But I was I was fortunate enough that my sleeping quarters,
Which were?
It was in the back of the truck, So I did share it. I did share it with our crew chief, with Graham, who does have a slight bit of a snore, but nothing to the extent of the generators. But cold, it was cold.
So you didn't quite have, there's a marathon. Show us that picture of the marathon stuff. So the guys slept on marathon. This was luxury stuff from a lot of the crew, because your crew was sleeping in tents in the bivvy?
Yeah, it was so what we do is, in all the planning, and we go to the desert at Saudi Arabia, you think it's hot, we look at even the detail of the sleeping bags, what temperature ratings you're going to take with the sleeping bags, inflatable pillows, tents, stretchers. And when we got there for the support crew, it was everything was the guys. Normally in South America, everybody's going to get a stomach bug. That's a given. This wasn't going to happen there. But I had 3 go down with flu within a week, because the guys it's a tough one, because within a sleeping bag you can't really use your clothing, because it negates the impact or how a sleeping bag should work. So these guys are sleeping outside without the tent, because the wind chill factor is so high. So that was a tough one.
One of the guys I spoke to had been there, not on your team, but one of the Toyota Gazoo guys said that he took his -8 degree sleeping bag to Saudi Arabia, desert country, and he was still cold inside. So that was pretty cock. So now lessons for next year. Clearly, it's on clothing, but what if it's a little bit not so cold? Then it's going to be interesting.
Yeah, look, it's their winter. So, I mean, the most we saw was, I did 1 or 2 days ago up to 24, 25, and I suppose they could expect it maybe a little bit warmer than that. But it's a complete different world to the 42 degrees that we've had in South America. It's easy on the cars. I mean, for the first time ever at a Dakar, we're concerned about the engines running too cold and having to negate the airflow because of that. It's a first for us.
And how does that change what you do in terms of development and design of the vehicle? We know that Toyota, in order to get some more top speed, they've now got shall we call it the low rider, where they've chopped air vents off the top of the thing, because the radiator sits behind the cab. Do you think you'll make significant changes to the vehicle to handle the cold weather more?
It was a discussion we had, because obviously you've got a big roof scoop there that's feeding air to the radiator. So one of it is to go smaller on the air scoop itself, so you take less volume of air in. But what happens is that we found is that you're going into a liaison section early in the morning. It's 6:30 in the morning. Okay, now you're sitting at 3 degrees or 0 degrees.
Okay.
So we actually we blocked off 50% of the air scoop for the liaison stages, and then gave the guys instruction that on arrival at the stage, when temperature's obviously gone up and they're going to go racing, to take off let's call it the blank off, or the blanking.
So you still got South America, you wake up in the morning at 6 o'clock, it's 20, or 4 o'clock, it's still 20 degrees, and it goes up to 40 degrees. Here you're going from 3 degrees to 24 degrees, so you still got that 20 degree temperature range. It's just colder.
Yeah, it's in South America, it's very simple. You just sleep on top of your sleeping bag in the middle of on the floor. It's so hot. That's
and
it.
You spray your
and you
Were there
spray,
mozzies
and you spray.
inside?
No mozzies. I don't know.
Yes,
I
that's a place I want to
don't know
go.
if they
I
were
hate
leave
those
or where they were, but they weren't there.
I hate those bloody things. They're not halal.
Sorry, Terence, could I ask a quick question? In terms of the engine running too cold, are you blocking it off purely for a damage to the engine perspective, or does it then sort of change the fuel map into a warm up map and use too much fuel, something like that?
The Motec system manages everything, so that's not really a concern. It's just that you don't want an engine running at 59 degrees and 62 degrees. I mean, it's not. We want to be racing at 90. That's kind of where we want to be. But when you're sitting in the Liaison section, remember you're doing 130 k's we're allowed to do this year on top speed on the Liaisons. So you're sitting at 130 kilometers an hour across, let's say, a highway or dual carriageway. And you've got all this air coming in the scoop, just absolutely cooling this engine.
You don't run a thermostat?
Yes, we do. We did on the one, but unfortunately that got blocked. So what you did is we had a bit of a leak on the radiator, and we put some radiator stop in to try and which unfortunately then got into the thermostat, and then obviously. We generally, to be honest with you, we never really use a thermostat. It's only for the cars that have gone to Europe, because we find, like in places like Holland, they can never get the engine to temperature. So therefore we put a thermostat in, but not for these conditions.
You mentioned liaison stage and driving on roads. One of the things, South America, those 80 kilometers an hour in Bolivia sucks proper. So you can do 85 and maybe BS the trip here, but did you find that the liaisons were a lot easier, and from a service crew point of view, weren't getting so knackered?
Without a doubt. If I add on to what I was saying in the beginning about obviously Saudi made a hell of an effort to make this Dakar better, David Castor has come in now, really shook up everything as well, and it was just great. The layouts were so much better, they were consistent. It was like they blueprinted what they believed would be the most efficient bivouac they could have. You remember that if you wanted to walk around a bivouac at Dakar, to give an idea, you'd probably need 3 days. That's how big a bivouac is. I mean, it is massive. So what they did, the layout was consistent. So what happened, not only that now, with them moving everybody faster, the trucks, the cars, up by 10 kilometers or 20 kilometers on average, we were getting in earlier, which meant we could set up earlier, which meant we could be ready earlier. So everything was more efficient.
So it was slightly easier for you?
Everything, yeah. Look, from a...
No, I don't mean easy.
No, not easy. I can tell you two things from observation. One is, it was one of the easier routes from a competitive point of view, and that's talking to many guys that have done 10, 15, 18 Dakars. So that was... Perhaps first week was tough, second week was a little bit too soft and too flat and too fast. But from a support, it is the easiest one we've done for support. Roads were good, traveling was good, time allocations were good, people could sleep. If you went to South America, I mean, you eventually crashed at some stage.
Absolutely. So that will change the way you look at your support outlook going forward for next year. Because you will be back next year, won't you?
No, I don't know about that.
Yeah, it's too soon then, eh?
Look, I was mentioning some of the guys earlier, is that just to put things in perspective how hard this Dakar is. I mean, I went and watched some track racing this weekend, and you look how people struggle to put 2 days together at Swartkops or Kalomi, whatever it might be, or rallying where you're trying to put a couple of stages together in a day. The Dakar, you've got to put 12 days consecutively together. 6,000
racing kilometers. It's hard as...
No, it's almost impossible, particularly for the privateers. I'm not talking about the guys with massive resources or changing components every second day to ensure that it doesn't happen.
Yeah,
when you're running a privateer...
The GD3s, they went and they did Bathurst, record kilometers they did. I think it was 5,000 Ks they drove. I mean, in 24 hours.
Good. Job well done.
Terence, we know that your time is tight, so I've just got 1 or 2 more questions. Your big takeout from that, number one, your wow factor, and then advice to yourself for next year.
Look, I was impressed with the Dakar. I went there open-minded, and I know our customer base, which are all adventurers, they're businessmen, they don't get caught up with politics and that kind of stuff. They really just want adventure and the terrain. The landscapes in Saudi Arabia were incredible. The way they're integrating into, let's say, a westernized world is happening fast. You'll see there's a lot of things happening there, music concerts and Formula E and all kinds of things that are happening there. I think there was Saudi golf tournament this last week.
They've just got the Tour of Saudi, the first time they've had a major bicycle race there as well.
So it's a great move. It's a great move. I think once people put all the politics and all those things aside, I was very interested to see that the entries were actually up on previous years. I thought they would be down. So they were up, but slightly. But no, it's exciting. The infrastructure is good. Things work. It's easy accessible. Timelines from a media perspective, just 1 hour difference between here or 2 hours with Europe, or whatever it might be. So you don't have that huge delay that you have from South America. For ASA to move content around the world is so much cheaper and more efficient now. So no, I don't have a negative, honestly, I don't have a negative thing to say about the
advice for yourself for next year or next visit. We know you'll be back there next year. I mean, it's harden up, Terence. Come on. And your bit of advice.
I'm still trying to debrief myself on that. I must be honest with you. There are some learnings out of it, and I'm still trying to work out. We were fortunate. We took 2 cars, and they weren't without issue, and we got them home, which we're very proud of. But there was learnings. There are new cars. They'd never done the mileage of that. There wasn't any fundamental issues, which are good. Logistically, we've done 7, 8 of them now, so we understand how it works. So yeah, I haven't wrapped my head around what's.
Shall we leave it at better clothing and better sleeping bags?
That's probably the best way to put it.
And a proper air mattress for El Honcho, the main man.
Yeah, that's probably the best way to look at it.
Terence Marsh, thank you very much for sparing time to wend your way through the load. It's not load shedding, it's frickin' blackouts. We thought just to make you happy, we'd put a little Lego car that one of the kids built after school. So how cool is this that Lego work with the manufacturers and you can buy a proper Lego car? If you've got a kid, even if they're like 2 weeks old, buy it for them because you'll have lots of fun.
And I see a proper sponsor on there as well. So they definitely
Which one?
They're doing Motul. I see it's.
Do you see a proper
package.
sponsor on the front of the yellow rocket? Terence Marsh, thank you so much for joining us. Have a safe trip back across the other side of the Boerewors curtain. Thank you very much for joining us. We will talk again. We didn't mention South African cross-country series, did we?
No, that's just around the corner now. We just got back, and that starts in a couple of weeks.
28 and 29 February in Dahlstrom.
Yeah, it starts off in Dahlstrom, which is it's great. It's obviously, I think everybody understands what a beautiful part of the country it is. So
we've got the calendars up there now. I mean, Dahlstrom's beautiful.
Beautiful.
The fish are going to cock themselves with a noise.
Great event. It was wet 2 years ago, which was difficult. But I see there's a couple of new events on the calendar as well, which is always nice, So we love adventure. We like new venues. We like new terrain. And I see they've added Clarence on now. They've brought back Sugar Belt, which is,
that's so cool.
If I think about the 20 years that I've been racing, when we first started, it was Sugar Belt and Eston, and it's gone back there. So there's a lot of memories, and it's a good, tough, proper. In those days, were called off-road events. So yeah, there's some events that even someone as old as I am can look forward to probably doing 1 or 2 of them.
One of the cool things is you've got the off-road racing, cross-country racing, close to, shall we call them centers of culture, Parys is becoming like God town, and they've got coffee shops and stuff down there. Parys, can you the have to believe? And then Dahlstrom is the fly fisherman's village. Clarence is, oh my God, it's fully cool. It's like there's culture and racing. How cool is that?
We worry more about terrain. We don't get caught up with that kind of stuff, A nice plate of food also helps, but for cross-country racing, he just wants terrain and lots of varied terrain, and that's what he gets excited about.
We're looking forward to that. That's going to be fantastic. Right, Terence, you can please go. Bye. Thanks for joining us. Terence Marsh, ladies and gentlemen, he did say, when we spoke to him earlier, what's the exit cue? Are you going to tell me to go? So I said, yeah. So we tell him to go. So now, our next guest, Chris Kutzer, is a man of rallying, the head of, he's a well-known rallyist, a rally man. Chris, please come and join us. Thank you very much for taking the drive out. And welcome to RaceDay.tv.
Thank you. Nice being here.
So you've got a lollipop. I'm glad you brought your notes.
Thank you. You always ask me technical stuff, so I've got to have it on paper. Nowadays, people are looking over your shoulder. If you say something wrong, you get in cuck over the social media.
You know what I say to them is when they say that you've got it wrong, you say to them, I had one chance and I didn't get it right. So on the second chance, we'll get it right. You know what?
Yeah.
It's hell of easy to sit there and be a keyboard warrior. It's a little bit more difficult to actually do something positive about motorsport. I wake up every morning and say, what can I do that makes racing lacquerer today? You also do this, and you have. Tell us about rallying, new seasons coming up. I recall sitting in forests in Swaziland listening to rally cars. There's dust, there's tires, there's the smell of petrol. It's cool, isn't it?
It is very cool. Unfortunately, like a lot of other disciplines, we're struggling with the fact that there are no more manufacturers involved. So it's the change of how to change from this deluge almost of manufacturer-supported cars to really a privateer sport. And I think that transition period of the National Rally Championship, we're getting it right now. So, it's very exciting to announce almost that from this year, because we don't have any manufacturers that dictate the terms to us, we've opened up the championship to all the classes. So
you've changed a whole lot of cars, and you've changed the class structure.
That's right.
And you've instead of class A, B, C, D, E, F, and all those bloody alphabets, you made it easier, and it's numbers in line with the WRC. So tell us about the class structure.
Yeah, more or less. So on WRC, they call it WRC 1, 2, 3, etc. So we followed a similar approach. We're going to call the classes NRC 1 to 5. Then NRC 1 will be for the four-wheel drive cars. Now, unfortunately, we don't have the situation where we have a big field of cars that are exactly the same. So it's going to be opened up to the old Group N4 cars.
S2000 cars?
S2000 cars are
So basically, if you've got a four-wheel drive car, you can go and run it.
Absolutely, and I think the discretion of the technical committee will decide, if a car is deemed to be too quick, we'll have to bring them back. Some of the N4 cars have been quite seriously modified over the years, and they're really more Group A cars, but adding smaller restrictors and so on, we can equalize that a bit. And then, of course, we'll have the new FIA R4 class, which is the thing that we pin the hopes on for the future as a four-wheel drive class that is accessible to everybody and that is fair. It is a level playing field. It's a 6-year fixed homologation. So you don't have these runaway budgets with big sponsored teams that are just running away from everyone.
So N4, just to summarize, is effectively the same drivetrain that gets plugged under something like this.
That's right.
Same engine, same gearbox, drivetrain, and all the rest of it. We've got some pictures of an N4. And
sorry, it's R4.
R4.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, R4, N4. A fourth thing. It's a 1600.
Yeah.
They've all got the same motor, 1600 turbo, unstressed engine.
Correct.
With proper racing transmission, four-wheel drive transmission.
Absolutely. It's a stock standard engine. It's the only major modification that it's a different turbo.
Yeah.
And it's obviously been remapped. So it boosts quite a bit higher, but it's stress low because the RPM limit has been turned down.
So there's that was one that you actually built in your shop.
That's from our factory, yes, in Samrand, between Pretoria and Joburg.
That's Rally Technic.
That's Rally Technic.
The name that you got on your shirt.
Yes, correct.
Okay, now just
your whole team's joined in and have said they're all watching.
Okay, cool. Hi, guys. Thanks for watching. I thought you had enough of me already today.
Andrew, you've got to focus. When you want to talk, you speak in the mic.
Ask the lollipop.
Yeah, ask the lollipop. Thank you.
Okay, no.
Yeah, your whole team's joined in from Rally Technique, and they say
names.
They haven't given names. It's on your Facebook profile, so they say the whole team's watching. That's all they've put up there. So there you go.
Any other questions from random lurkers that are watching us?
One random lurker question: does this sort of new spec of rules make it more attractive to a privateer in rallying?
That's a very good question. So if I run down the rest of the classes, the NRC2 class will be for the previous top class, which was the so-called R2 cars that you saw last year.
The 1600 front-wheel drives that
Correct.
go me.
Yes, but they're actually quite quick.
No, they're hell of a quick. I joke because,
yeah.
I mean, the guys that drive them very, very quick.
Yeah, I think they actually overdrive them. But anyway, so then the NRC3, this is a very new, exciting announcement as well. We're introducing a so-called Vivo GT Cup.
Yes.
So these are all almost a standard-based VW Polo, Vivo.
Yeah.
So it's the previous generation Polo. They all
It's
be
a
running.
Vivo GT.
Yes,
Because
Vivo
GT makes it getuned.
That's it.
And it's faster.
So it's a 1-liter turbo. They're all basically the same. So call it a Polo Cup made for gravel. So that's going to be exciting. And we can already announce that young Benjamin Habig, son of, that's right, And
so
I think
Yanni could pedal, eh?
Yanni is like a legend. He's like on the Chuck Norris team. You know, he was one of those guys.
Yeah.
So that's going to be a nice entry level thing. And also all the cars are the same. So if you get a bunch of youngsters together, it's going to be a real dogfight.
What I also believe that is pretty cool is that there will be teams teams who will be able to run it. Because kids these days, they don't fix stuff on cars. So they can take their hard-earned pocket money and give it to someone like Trevor Bland, for instance, and say, Bland, run the car for me. So they basically arrive, they can bring their binnets. Is that what they call them in four-ways? They're binnets, bro.
You're from four-ways, not me.
No, they bring their, so they can bring their binnets and pay the money and go and race and party hard and carry on.
That's right, and I believe there are a few teams that will actually own the cars themselves, so the actual rallyist wouldn't even have to own the car. If you want to get into this, yes, you can rent it.
How cool is that?
Most cup classes or cup trophies or whatever they call them in Europe are like that. If you look at your junior World Rally Championship, it's a bunch of Ford Fiestas and they're all owned by M Sport. So you pay your money for the year. You don't have that barrier of entry to have to own a whole team with a van and a trailer and all of that stuff. So yes, it is a big benefit to privateers. If they want to get into the sport, this is a good opportunity. If they've already been in the sport but they haven't seen a reason for continuing because budgetary, they couldn't compete with the bigger teams, we've got other classes, NRC 4 and 5, that's really for the privateer, but they can actually score points in the championship now, which makes it a big difference.
There's two things here. Let's say, I saw a picture that somebody posted on an old Stanza, a 2-liter Stanza. For those of you who don't know, Datsun Stanza, it was a car back in the day. Proper rally car. If somebody had one of those things, can they come and race it in the rally, and can they score points towards the overall championship?
Yes, indeed they can. NRC 5 is the so-called classic class, and that's for cars of 30 years and older. So there you'll have the iconic Mark 1 and 2 Escorts, the Datsun Standards.
Go and get an Escort and bring it, Pit.
Absolutely, and there the rules are a little bit looser in terms of, we allow, although things have to be period, so you can't put fuel injection on and so on. But if there are certain replacement parts that you need to use because they're cheaper, it will be allowed. So it is really something that you can do on a budget, but these cars entertain the crowd, so we want as many of them there, and they really a favorite. So we all see the value of having them.
Do I get the feeling that in order to make rallying better and better again, as somebody once said, you kind of opening it up and say, listen, bring your car and there's a place where you come and race. Stop moaning on the sideline. Bring your car, race it, have fun.
Yes, I've been involved with both regional and national, the structures, the committees, the commission, whatever you want to call them, for about the last 6 years. And unfortunately, that's a lot what we hear is, oh, we can't do it because you've got stupid rules or the barrier of entry is too great, etc., etc. Actually, people, we've listened, they don't necessarily accept it, but entry fees are half of what they were a few years ago. We're offering a lot of other cost-saving opportunities, etc. So
you've changed the tyre rule, and you've got a tyre sponsor.
Yes, we can say that we did have a control tyre in the past. The idea there is just to get the cost down. Unfortunately, for the last couple of years, we didn't really receive any major financial support in the series from the tyre supplier. So we've appointed a new tyre supplier, and they are making a substantial financial investment in the series. And it's not just a rebate scheme where we've loaded the price of the tires and they give us $200 and that's the sponsorship. No, they're actually spending their money.
Is that a little dig?
No, I'm not saying that, but they're actually taking their money, putting it in, and they are serious about rallying. So,
okay, so first time I didn't know a whole lot about MRF tires, so I did some research. Over 40 years in rallying, they won stuff.
Yep.
They were in the running to be tire for WRC, and so it's proper stuff.
Yes, correct. The Asia Pacific Championship is quite a competitive championship.
Yeah.
I believe they've won that about 9 times. And after now not being successful with the WRC bid, where Pirelli just put more money on the table to the FIA than they would, they have announced that they, in the European Rally Championship this year, with a top current WRC driver, Craig Breen. And he'll be competing in a Hyundai R5 car in the entire European Rally Championship. What that means for us is we'll have proper tires, because ERC is a free series. There's no tire restriction, and Craig Breen wants to win. So MRF will be developing proper, not that they're not already fast, but they want to be the fastest tire, and we will get that benefit here in South Africa as well.
You spoke earlier about barrier to entry, and one of the thoughts that came to mind, the biggest barrier of entry that I see in this country for racing, rallying and motorsport is the individual's cuck attitude. It's amazing when you change your attitude, how much better the world is. So
correct.
We have attitude adjustment classes every now and then, but just guys, just getting through, racing is lacquer, just D-back. You've got a question.
I do. It's from Greg Charman, of course. He wants to know if you had any luck with your stand at the Autosport show.
Well, let's just, for those viewers who weren't there, Rally Technic took over an R4 that was built here to the Autosport International Motor Show. That was quite a ballsy move that you took. We see the picture of you guys on the stand. It's a ballsy move to take a South African-built car and go and chuck it.
The biggest motorsport show in the world?
In the world. And?
Yes, indeed, it was quite a risky move. I think we could have had egg on our face if we didn't do it properly. So it was about a 6-month process from the day we decided to do it until we really had the container off on the water, and there was nothing really more we could do except take a few pamphlets in our suitcase. But we were well received. I think it is a little bit different, the show now. There's not so many car manufacturers there anymore. So it was really a very busy stand. I mean, we had 6 people there, and at times we had all 6 of us with 3 or 4 people around us. So it was very well received. We made some good contacts there, and thanks, Greg, for spending, I think, best part of half a day with us there. It was nice to meet you as well. So it was very busy, and we've got some good interest from people. The biggest thing we wanted to go and prove is that South African teams can go and be competitive in Europe, and to spread the word of the R4 class in England and Ireland, which is a big market, but they don't necessarily know about the class. That little island tend to be a little bit inward in their thinking. So we've opened some ideas, and we're speaking to the British Federation currently to introduce R4 into the British Rally Championship. Will be very exciting.
Let's go to South African Rally. When's the first rally?
It's 28 March, and it's on the doorstep here in Delmas.
Yeah.
People say, oh, millie fields, but this time of year, it's big millies. It's almost like sugarcane racing.
It's like
except that those hand grenades really hurt, so you have to stay on the road.
And not that far from Joburg.
Not that far from Joburg, so we invite everyone to come out. You know, it's a form of motorsport. There's no admission fees, anything. You can have a great family day out, bring a cool box, have fun.
We were out at Delmas near Red Star watching RaceDayTV was streaming the Monaco series. Freaking awesome stuff that. And the millies are looking millies.
They are millies. There's been a good, good rain.
There's good rain. And all the rest of it.
Yeah.
Right, Chris. Enough.
Thanks.
Thank you for joining us. Thank you for putting the effort in coming across the Boerewors curtain and joining us at Ink Monkey, the makers of the greatest stickers and wraps in the world. These guys are absolutely, I mean, I'm blown away at what they do. Fantastic stuff.
I also like to thank them. On short notice, they branded our car for Autosport, and it turned out great. And the car was really visible from far away, and it attracted people from way across the hall. Thanks, Ink Monkey guys.
It's dangerous to come here as well, because Terence Marsh came to a show here, and he got screwed because he saw the quality of their work, and then he brought his GTR here, and ka-ching, Thanks, Terence, for supporting us. Chris, thank you very much for joining us.
Thanks for having us.
Absolutely awesome. We're going to visit their workshop and show proper racing stuff. So now, we've got an empty seat. So we're going to fill it.
I've got a very important question.
Yeah.
Are you ready?
Yeah. Ian, are you ready?
Mark Richard Berger
Yeah, Mark.
would
How's
like
it?
to know when we are going to do a liquid broadcast from higher ground.
Strangely, Mark, we have one of your prize winners that you have, you donated a prize to last year.
No, during the Dakar show. It was during the Dakar show.
It was during the Dakar show. We spoke about that. Mark, we'll be with you. Remember, Higher Ground is a fantastic place. Overlooks Joburg. It's fully cool. It's in the grounds of St. Stithians, you know, with all the rather...
Marvelous.
It's fantastic, chaps.
Nobody talks like that after a few beers. Have you noticed that?
They slow and they get all luck. Let's welcome, big hand for our visitor from Oz, Ian Silvestrin. Come in. This is a weird moment. Ian, thank you very much for joining us. Welcome
Pleasure to be here.
RaceDay.TV. Listen, to say that again.
Pleasure. I won't even try to do the Afrikaans. I've been practicing, but with the jet lag coming in this morning, yeah, no chance.
Yeah, lovely. Thanks a lot for joining us.
Sorry, a couple of things if I can.
Yeah.
Wasn't it fascinating listening to Terence talking about the Dakar rally in Saudi? That was very enlightening. Of course, originally from Paris down to Dakar, which is... That's in this continent, isn't it?
Yeah,
then it went
Senegal,
down to South America.
Then go to South America, and I tried to learn to speak Espanol, but I couldn't list that good, so I couldn't speak it so lekker.
Oh, by the way, the ham in Italy, it's prosciutto.
Prosciutto, yeah. Okay, well, geez. Parma ham, yeah, prosciutto. But you speak Italian?
Yes.
Buongiorno.
Buonasera.
No, buongiorno.
No, buongiorno means good morning.
Yeah, well,
and
it's morning in Australia.
I have no idea. I just got in this morning, still extremely tired, but it's great to be here, back again here in South Africa. Another thing, if I can just lead you off track for a moment. Yeah, Ink Monkey, don't they do some great work? Coincidence, Chris might be keen to hear this. You know my day car, which is my daily driver back home in Australia, it is a Suzuki, an SX4, which was... rallied to some degree, and here we've got the Swift and the Jimny, which my brother-in-law has just bought one of these back home, and he's on a 1-year waiting list to pick it up. So,
so the guys from Penta Motor Group, these are their babies. The great bunch of guys. So, what's an Aussie living in Nice?
It's nice in Nice. It's a good place to base yourself, travel-wise. The weather is not as bad as Italy. We had a couple of races on today's Wednesday, so 3 days ago in Adria, which is just south of Venice, and it was minus something in the morning. And Nice is a good place to base yourself and travel around Europe. I can virtually walk to the airport or just drive to the circuits in the north of Italy, which is where a lot of our races are.
To frame what you do, we've got a short video that will explain to our audience.
Okay.
Who Ian is. You must have, if you follow go-kart racing through the world, and Italian Formula 3 and Italian Formula 4, you will have heard his voice. So we've got a short little video. It's a minute. Check this out. Guys.
Watch the driver from South Africa in position number 3. Stuart White is on the charge. The 169 Cosmic Cart has come from the clouds. Look, he's right on the tail of Francesco Pagano. He set the fastest lap of the race on lap number 2. He's had another fastest lap just 1 tour ago as they come across the line to complete lap number 4. The order. Slight rise. Here comes Stuart White. Carinini gets sideways. White down the inside. Nicely done. Stuart White from Bloemfontein in South Africa is now up into position number 2. The South African flags are flying high at South Garda because their boy Stuart is now up into P2. He's fast chasing and catching the leader. White's going to have a big look at the inside of Carinini, who blocks the door. He looks behind him. Pagano. Oh, they touch on the final corner. It's a drag race to the line. Who's going to do it? We're looking at the window. They touch. They're pressed across the line.
Yeah.
Not the result we wanted for Stu.
No, he came so close to winning that race. That was 4 or 5 years ago now, and flying the flag up there in the north of Italy, I think that still rankles him today.
Yeah.
He came within, I don't know, 0 point nothing of taking the victory.
But isn't that how cruel motorsport is? Second sucks. It's about winning. I mean, look, Stu and I, we both got a very soft spot for him. But motorsport's cruel.
Yes, this is something, if I can personally say, I have never understood that. Personally, back in the olden days racing, like we all have, it was never my a good result to come from 10th on the grid and finish 4th, and if it was a good race, rather than win a race against Neville Nobody. A lot more satisfaction out of that. But yeah, as you say, there's people that are just devastated and heartbroken, and that's why they're professional racing drivers, Colin. And I'm not. Although you once were, as you were telling me, to a degree.
Not a professional. I just had fun. How did you get into commentating and talking?
I don't know. To be honest, it was back in Australia. We just sort of fall into these things, the same as yourself. Journalism, back when we still read magazines, back when before the very device that we're watching this program on destroyed print media. So in journalism and always, and the level in Australia, I guess it compares somewhat to South Africa. It's not Europe, so everyone gets to have a shot and build up experience like that, and did a couple of races over in Italy and saw that could make a career out of it, and now it's up to 6-7 years going on in Europe.
And you're having fun. You're actually living a bit of a dream, aren't you?
Yes.
In some ways.
It is good. It is good. I put the caveat on that. I hate flying, and I'm still jet lagged coming down from Milan to Addis to Joburg this morning, so forgive me if I do slur my words. And that's probably the reason I can't even try and impersonate my Afrikaans.
No, you don't need to do that.
But to be honest, it is fantastic.
As South Africa, we've got a love-hate relationship with Aussie.
Only when it comes to rugby.
And cricket, because somehow...
Also, and racing.
And sandpaper.
Bathurst.
No, we love Bathurst, but geez, I was whacked on Sunday. I couldn't... it was such a brilliant race. Of the races that you do, and I just want to get an idea, what's your favorite formula, class of racing, the stuff that you say, wow?
Top level karting is phenomenal. In Europe, it is just. We had the first round of the WSK Supermaster Series on the weekend.
Yeah.
230 odd drivers from, I think, 40 nations. The final was just brilliant. I mean, world-class drivers, factory racing teams.
These are guys who are going to go on to be Formula One drivers
some
in a
of
couple
them,
of
and
years'
some
time.
of them are professional kart racing drivers. They're living the dream. They're earning a wage racing for factory teams, as you see in say, motocross or MotoGP or whatever. They're factory kart racing drivers. Yes, there is the big influence for Formula One as well. There's a couple of kids already with F1 contracts at the age of 11. They will be on the grid in 2027, be assured. And it is watched very closely, but also with the manufacturer involvement. And karting is its own sport. So the top level, as we had on Sunday, was just brilliant and makes the hairs on the back of your neck stand up.
How do you get to, you call a race, and karting, there's action all the time, and there's stuff happening. The filter, you see it worked? There's stuff happening all the time. How do you, I barely know George, Peter, Jimmy, Eric. How do you get to know these guys as well as you do? And just
having the racing background does help. Racing from juniors back in Australia, not at the highest level, but so actually, as a lot of people have, half of our viewers have raced something. And so 15, 18 years or whatever, racing karts, you know how the sport works. That is, I don't think you could do it without some sort of background, although some do. And good luck to them. But I think that it's like as if you or I tried to commentate cricket or football. We could probably do it, but not very well. So that is a huge advantage, and you just must study, learn, know, and live it. Motorsport becomes our life, and so we have to know every driver, where they're from, which race they've won, their dog's name, their neighbours, everything, and narrate that and make it entertaining.
You have a reputation for not Well, for remembering every frickin' person who's ever name you've ever heard. You just remember them since forever.
Sheldon Cooper is my role model. You know who that is. I don't know.
Sheldonisms around. I mean, the guy is absolutely brilliant.
Yeah. Well, for $1 million US per episode, he'd want to be, wouldn't he? But
then why did they kill it?
1 million US per episode times 13 years, I don't think he needed to do it anymore, but we're getting off track. I don't know.
So there's your Ginger, nickname, Sheldon.
We have to tell people, Stuart is with us here tonight in the studio, in the Ink Monkey studio. He is a friend, I'll be honest, and that's half the reason I come back down to visit in South Africa. Many a time he's come up to spend the night sleeping on the couch up there in Nice before he's gone off to test or race up there in France or Europe.
He's quick, eh?
Yes,
yeah.
No question.
Okay.
And quite methodical how he races. Yes, he's a friend and everything aside, but when you're at the racetrack week in, week out, you know who's going to make it.
That
you know who's
methodical
serious.
part you spoke about, I saw a little bit of today with some documentation and impressive. We've been bitched about the ears, you know, the voices in your head. Don't you just love that when you're trying to talk sense to friends or people you know? And there's going in your ear that comes out of the truck. What give you one race to commentate on? One race, anywhere in the world, anytime. Is it the first race that Elon Musk organizes on Mars, or what would the race be?
Certainly wouldn't be that one, Colin, because it's bad enough flying down from Milan to Johannesburg, so there's no way that I'm going to be taking any sort of flight to another planet.
What's your dream race?
To be honest, what I'm doing now is really good. The top level of world karting is phenomenal. We're also doing, we have to mention, for the second year this year, the FIA Formula Regional European F3 Championship. We had the first season last year. It was brilliant. Some big news just a week or two back. Little Leclerc, so that's Arthur Leclerc, which is Charles' younger brother. He's signed to race with Prema. I think actually Stuart raced against Arthur. So he's with the Ferrari Junior Academy. The press release came out a couple of weeks ago, and I happened to be watching something online at the time, and then it just went viral. It's like Charles Leclerc, FIA Formula Regional European F3. So it's going to be a cracking season.
And Juan Montoya's kid is in.
Yeah, he's in the Italian
4,
F4. They basically run at the same events for most of the season. Also racing with Prema, who is effectively the Ferrari Junior team. So doing those races are good. Okay, it's not F1, it doesn't have the profile, but some of the F1 races go for an hour and a half and 3 cars pass each other too. So when you have a race like on the weekend, the WSK Supermasters Series karting, when you have 70 entries and as an 8-cart freight train into the final corner, that's just brilliant. Not to denigrate F1, because that is the top category in the world of motorsport, has been for half a century. But doing F3, doing world karting, it's brilliant. I like it.
Live the dream. We've kind of run out of no more questions.
No more questions. We've got Andre Buerta that's come in. I don't know if you know Andre Buerta, and he says, Ian really knows his racing, and you're not bad for an Aussie. And we've got Willie Duplessis saying thanks for the show. We've got Keegan Ward from Ty Martin Randburg watching. And Warwick, I'm not sure what the surname is, he says, good day, mate, and that's us.
That's us. It just about is us. Ian, I really appreciate you. I know you're still super jet lagged. I can see this because I can see your eyes going crunch, 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 all the sand in your eyes. Thank you so much for taking some time out, and lovely to meet you, and just sharing your passion and love for racing. You just see that it just like, how can we, can't we take some of that passion and love for racing, put it in little pills, and sell them as a 2-pack? One, a passion for racing and a cement pill at the same time. Be brilliant. We'll make gazillions. Right, there's an idea, all the merchandising guys.
Colin, thank you. It's very kind of you to say, but it's great to be back here. There's a lot of similarities between Australia and South Africa, rugby and cricket aside. We do have a lot in common, and it's great to be back here as well. Thank you.
We as a country welcome you, especially when we win the cricket and win the rugby. But on that note, to all our guests, to Ink Monkey, Marius and Anil, thank you very much for speaking to the catering department and getting them on track. To the guys from Penta, thank you so much for all the things. There's boerewors rolls. For those of you who didn't bother coming, there's a boerewors roll out the back there, and it's got lekker proper tomato sauce on it. Okay, that side, sorry, next to the beer keg. And I'm told that it's that tomato sauce that when you bite on the end of the boerewors, it comes and runs down here, and it's murwe lekker. On that note, thank you very much for watching, for your comments, your queries, and for joining us. And again, thank you for my wheels. I will not be able to hide from anybody. Join us again next week on RaceDay.tv. We will find something of passion and love of motorsport to bring you. Thanks a lot. Be lekker, be nice, be fast. Cheers.